Hey guys, I'm your host, Ryan Olixon, and I wanted to release a solo episode today reflecting on the 3 episodes we just heard and launched on the podcast from David Allen Brown, Dr. Jennifer Vayu, and Dylan Borland. And before we move into the next set of conversations, I want to stay here for a minute because something happened across these 3 episodes that I don't want to rush past. I want to talk about something that I think is one of the defining quiet crises of our time, and that almost nobody is naming directly. We are in the middle of a mental health conversation that on its surface looks like progress. Therapy is destigmatized. People post about their diagnoses. Emotional language has gone mainstream. Setting boundaries is now on tote bags. Healing is a content category. And yet, most people I talk to feel more disconnected from themselves than ever before. Not sad exactly, not in crisis, just hollow in a way that's hard to articulate. Like they're going through the motions of their own life. Like they're watching themselves from a slight distance and not quite recognizing the person they're watching. I think there's 2 things happening at once that we haven't figured out how to separate yet. The first is that we've gotten really good at the performance of self-awareness. We know the vocabulary. We can name the trauma response. We can identify the attachment style. We can explain why we are the way we are in a language that sounds sophisticated and clear. But naming something is not the same as working with it. Understanding your pattern is not the same as interrupting it. And I think a lot of us have mistaken the map for the territory. You know what I'm saying? The second thing is that the tools we've been given are mostly outward facing. Therapy, in much of its current popular form, is about understanding your history. Self-help is about optimizing your behavior. Wellness culture is about managing your symptoms. And none of that is bad, but almost none of it asks the deeper question, which is, who is doing all of this managing? Who is the person underneath all those patterns? And what does that person actually want? We've gotten so good at understanding why we are the way we are, we forgot to ask who we actually want to be. So let's take it back to David Allen Brown's episode. He spent his life being excellent at service. He was devoted to his children. He was committed to his work. He showed up for everyone around him with genuine care. From the outside, it looked like a life well lived. And then he found himself in his early 50s in a kind of numbness that he described not as sadness, but as the absence of aliveness. Nothing got him genuinely excited anymore. The things that used to feel meaningful felt like habit. He was present and absent at the same time. What he had done over years without noticing was outsource his inner voice to the expectations around him. The voice in his head had gradually stopped being his. It had become a composite of what his family needed, what his culture rewarded, and what his ideals required of him. And by the time he noticed, he couldn't find the original signal under all of that noise. Here's what makes his story not just personal, but universal. Nobody did this to him. There was no villain. There was just this slow, socially encouraged habit of making yourself smaller, making your needs quieter, your desires less urgent, so that you could keep being useful, keep being loved, and keep being safe. And I want to ask you something directly. Does that feel familiar? Because I think the majority of people listening to this are living some version of that story. Maybe it looks like the career you chose because it was stable rather than because it called you. Or maybe it's the relationship you stay in because leaving feels harder than staying. Maybe it's the version of yourself you perform at family dinners, at work, on social media, the version that everyone has decided you are, and the slow exhaustion of maintaining that. The most dangerous thing about slowly losing yourself is that nobody around you notices because you're still showing up. You're still functioning. You just stopped being there. Let's revisit Dr. Jennifer Vayu. She said something early in our conversation that I want to give you as a permanent tool. She said, you cannot have an emotion about something that doesn't matter. Just sit with that for a second. You cannot have an emotion about something that doesn't matter to you, which means every feeling you have ever dismissed, every time you said, I shouldn't feel this way, or I'm being too sensitive, or this is just ridiculous, you were suppressing a data point. You were turning off a signal from your own system that was trying to tell you something meaningful, something real. Think about what we do with that culturally. We teach children not to cry in public. We reward adults who stay calm under pressure. We promote the people who can leave their feelings at the door. We have entire industries built around helping people feel less anxious, less sad, less angry, less overwhelmed. And I'm not saying that those things are wrong. Regulation does matter. And we also discussed in the episode with Dr. Jen, timing matters, context matters. But I think we have swung so far in the direction of managing our emotions that we've forgotten how to actually just listen to them. And the cost of that is enormous because your emotions are not just noise. They are your values speaking directly to you. They are your needs, your boundaries, your desires, all trying to get your attention through the only channel they have, which is the body. Dr. Jen also talked about secondary emotions. The feeling that you have about your feeling. I really love this part. It's super interesting because I think we all can relate to this. So the guilt about feeling angry, the shame you might have about feeling grief, the anxiety about your sadness. And she pointed out something that I think is devastating in its simplicity. When you add a second layer of judgment to an emotion, you don't make the first emotion go away. You actually make it louder. You compound it. You add a whole new problem on top of the original one. Most of us are not just feeling our feelings. We're feeling our feelings about our feelings about our feelings. That's a lot. And then we sit and wonder why we're so exhausted. When you tell yourself you shouldn't feel something, you don't feel less. You feel it twice. So let's dive into Dylan Borland's framework. Conscious creation. Sounds woo adjacent if you come at it with resistance. And I say that as someone who came at it with resistance. But here's what I've learned from sitting with it a little bit longer and from the research that surrounds it. The central idea is not actually mystical. It's neuroscience. Your brain is not a recording device. It is a prediction machine. Right now, as you're listening to this, your brain is not passively receiving reality. It is actively constructing a version of reality based on its existing model of the world. It is looking for evidence that confirms what it already believes. It's filtering out, literally filtering out at the level of perception. Information that doesn't fit the story, it has already decided it's true. Here's what all that means. What you believe about yourself is not just an opinion. It is the instruction set your nervous system is running from. If you believe somewhere underneath the conscious narrative that you are fundamentally not enough, your brain will find the proof every day. Every rejection, every failure, every passing look from a stranger. It will collect the evidence and present it to you as reality. And here's the part that is both the problem and the solution. You did not consciously choose that belief. You absorbed it from a parent's offhand comment when you were 7, from the first time you raised your hand in class and got it wrong, from the culture that told you your body was wrong, your feelings were too much, your ambitions were unrealistic. You didn't decide to believe those things. They accumulated over time. Dylan's work and the neuroscience behind it says that this is not a life sentence. The brain is plastic. The story can be rewritten, but it requires something most people are not willing to do, which is go looking for the original belief to find the instruction set that's been running in the background and examine it honestly. I'm talking about digging deep below the emotions that you feel and asking yourself, what is the belief that is fueling these thoughts, these emotions, and these stories that I'm telling about myself and others? The point is, you're not broken. You're running software you didn't design toward goals you didn't choose. And the first step is noticing that. I want to situate all of this in the actual world we're living in because I think it matters. And some of the concepts that we talk about can become really abstract. And this is one of my frustrations in understanding a lot of these terms and concepts is my brain is screaming, give me something practical. Give me something real world example. Right now, we're in a moment of extraordinary identity pressure. The political conversation is constantly asking you to choose a side. And both sides are offering you a ready-made identity that requires no excavation, no uncertainty, no uncomfortable questions about whether you might be wrong. Just pick a team and the narrative is provided. Social media is built on the same logic. Your feed shows you more of who it already thinks you are. The algorithm has a model of you, one based on your clicks, your pauses, your reactions, your shares, and it's constantly reinforcing that model. It is actively working against your self-evolution, your growth. And at the same time, there is a parallel hunger growing. People are exhausted by the performance. They are tired of the curated self. They are hungry for something real. The therapy attendance numbers are at record highs. So are the rates of people who say they feel like they don't know who they are. Meditation apps are booming. So is loneliness. Something is breaking down and something is trying to rebuild itself at the same time. And I think that the people in these 3 episodes are pointing toward what the rebuild needs to look like. We've never had more tools for self-improvement. We've never had more people feel like they don't know themselves. Before I send you into the next set of episodes, I want to leave you with 3 things. Not takeaways in a self-help sense, but 3 questions to sit with. The first is around David's episode. Whose voice is running in your head right now? When you tell yourself you can't do something or you're not worthy of something or you should be further along than you are, where did that voice come from? And is it actually yours? The second are questions related to Dr. Jen's episode. What feeling have you been suppressing that is trying to tell you something? Not a big dramatic emotion, just the low-grade hum of something you keep moving past. What would happen if you stopped and turned toward it instead? The third is from Dylan's episode. If your outer world is a mirror of your inner world, what is your life currently reflecting back to you? And is that what you wanted to say? You don't have to answer any of these right now, but don't put them down completely. Sit with them for a minute. Think about what those answers would be. They may give you some interesting items of feedback to consider. The next category of episodes moves outward, from the inner world to the systems that surround it, because doing the inner work doesn't happen in a vacuum. You're living inside structures that were built before you arrived, and understanding those structures honestly, clearly, and without all the noise is the next part of this conversation. I'm your host, Ryan Olekson, and this is Beyond 80%.